Hey Playas, how you doing? Welcome back to Playas Guide. This episode of Playas Guide is going to be the third installment in a series I've been doing here on YouTube on NES Homebrews. So stay tuned because you're going to get to find out about some different NES Homebrews that you may not have played yet. So I've heard that a few of you may not be getting notified when new videos like this are going live. So if you want to go hit the little bell icon, that should notify you when the videos do go live. So just unclick it and click it if you're not already, or if you are, maybe that'll reset it. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Okay, so let's get right into what you came here for. You came here to find out or see a couple different NES homebrews that are out there that you can play. I'm going to start off with Battle Kid 2. So previously I talked about Battle Kid 1, and I wanted to follow it up with Battle Kid 2. So Battle Kid 1 was part of the first NES Homebrew series, which will be linked at the end of this video, and I can link it in the description too for you so you can watch that if you haven't already. And there is a second part to the NES Homebrew series here that I've done that the second Battle Kid wasn't included in, so I've included it here. So Battle Kid 2 is a lot like Battle Kid 1. It is very reminiscent of Mega Man, but it is not scrolling from screen to screen. You go from one screen to the next. So, but for its time, this was one of the best, and I think it really does still hold up as one of the best NES homebrews out there. This game, you'll notice some improvements from the first NES game, and what Civic has done here is he's made the art, I think, a lot better. It's still very similar. Battle Kid still looks like Battle Kid, but you will notice in the backgrounds and some of the bosses, there's a bit more detail. You're also going to notice this detail in the cutscenes. The game also goes a little bit more depth into the plot. The music, I like in Battle Kid 2 more than the first Battle Kid. Not that either of them are bad, but the game is just a little bit more polished than the first one. So if you're like running and gunning, some difficult platforming, because this game is just as difficult, in my opinion, maybe even a little bit harder. I think that could be because I haven't played as much Battle Kid 2 as Battle Kid 1. Then you're really going to like this game. Worth checking out. You can find this one readily available, I believe, on Retro USB any day of the week, as well as Battle Kid 1. And it's reasonably priced too, considering how good of a game this is. So next up is Study Hall. Study Hall is a single screen arcade style game. Some people say that it's similar to Donkey Kong Jr., and I could see some resemblances. It's a bit different. There's no platforms that you're going to be walking on in this game. It's all up and down, side to side climbing. So I think it's more difficult than Donkey Kong Jr., but there is a comparison that has been made that I do see. I like this game a lot. There's a simplicity to it that, you know, the graphics aren't anything really flashy. What it is apparently it's the last day of school and you're waiting to get out of school for the summer, but you know, you're in study hall and you're a stick figure person who's doing these doodle sketches of levels in a video game on a notepad of paper, and you're just waiting for the day to pass by, and each of those notepads is a different stage that you play through. And there's quite a few different obstacles. Some of the ropes are slippery. I'm calling them ropes. They're like rungs that you climb. I'm not really sure what the correct term is to describe them, but it's a fun game. I think you'll enjoy it. The game also has a 80s radio, so you can listen to some chip tunes of some classic 80s hits, including Don't You Forget About Me. You might remember this one from The Breakfast Club. I actually got to recommend that this song was in the game when I was talking to Kahan Games online, and he put it in there. So in 2019, Retro USB released their 2019 8-Bit Xmas. And on this 8-Bit Xmas, you can find one of the best games on any of the 8-Bit Xmases, which is Study Hall 2. This is a full game just like the last Study Hall, but I think it is a little bit more challenging. At least I found it was. And again, you got projectiles coming at you, some different slippery ropes. Teleportation is going on here, from rung to rung or rope to rope. I don't know what I'm referring to them as. I guess I should stick with ropes or rungs. Fun game. If you like the first Study Hall, you're definitely going to like this one. Nomolos Storms the Castle. This is a platforming game made by Gradual Games, and this is the first release I bought of Gradual Games. It may have been their first release. I really don't know what work Gradual Games did before this, but I like this one. It is pretty difficult in my opinion. It's not an easy game. I guess all the games I've mentioned so far are pretty challenging. But if you stick with it and you learn some of the patterns of the game, you can work your way through it, where you play as this cat who is in this mythological medieval world. So another game that is similar to a game called Joust that came out was released by Megacat Studios, and this is called Justice Duel. Now, I'm not a big fan of Joust, but playing this game, Justice Duel, they added a few things that make it different enough that it really kept my interest. So you're in like this post-apocalyptic future, and you're playing as different presidents, dead presidents for the most part. I think maybe all of them, different historical figures in the US anyways. So it's called Justice Duel, and I got to play this one at Retro Game Con with some friends. I would recommend, if you could get friends together, which you may not be able to do in 2020 when this video is first being released because of COVID-19, then that's unfortunate. But in the future when you can, I would highly recommend it. So this game has lots of different power-ups, and this keeps it really interesting. So last but not least, because I love homebrew games, and you know I'll be playing more of them, but I wanted to finish off with one that I'm really impressed with, and is one of my favorite homebrews that I've ever played. So I'll leave you with this. It's still available, as far as I know, or quite often made available on Infinite NES Lives. And this is a game by Sly Dog Studios. It is called the Black Box Challenge. So the Black Box Challenge is an RPG. And a lot went into this game, you can really tell. And a lot of things to do with video game collecting, specifically collecting for the NES. So the concept here of this game is you want to collect all of the different black box games for the NES. So you go out and explore a pretty vast world and are faced with different challenges from every black box game you acquire. You take the black box game to your home, you play a mini game, which is a shorter version of the actual black box game, and you play that on your TV at home in the game. This is all happening in the game. And then once you beat that game or hit a certain level within the game that the game wants you to reach, you gain a new ability. And then you can use that ability to gain access to different areas of the map, or to gain different power-ups or attacks or defensive maneuvers within the combat system of the game. And this game has a pretty interesting combat system too, where it's not really turn-based. Like it's turn-based, but it's in time. So you have to actually hit a button to attack after selecting attack to land an effective attack on your enemy. And as you beat different people, and some of these guys that you go up against are other collectors, or there's ones that are like hoarders, speculators, resellers, YouTubers. There's a whole bunch of different enemies that I really like what Sly Dog Studios has done here, putting those together. And there's also some different missions you go on where somebody's looking for a 5-screw version of a game, and they got a 3 screws, so they got to go trade it to another person. And I really like what Sly Dog Studios did here with the different enemies in the game and the different tasks, because those of us who are NES collectors can really relate to this game, and on a comedic level too, because you know, if you're on any forums or discords, you know, or you watch a lot of YouTube collecting videos, you've heard a lot of these terms, and you know who a lot of these different people are out there that are collecting the games, and they're in this game. It's a really cool one. Also another one that's usually ready available and very affordable, so I would recommend picking this up. Highly recommend picking it up. So that's it for this episode of Playas Guide. Those are all the homebrews I have to cover here. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so, and follow Playas Guide on social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and check out the Twitch channel, because there are a bunch. I got a handful of highly talented streamers who stream almost every day on Twitch, and you're going to want to check that out if you're into retro gaming. That's it for this episode of Playas Guide.